Hi there, this is Chris with Peace of Mind, and today I'm here. We're going to do another little bits. I believe this is number 3 of the series, and this is just showing you how you can make some ephemera from little pieces, some small ephemera for you to put into your journals or any of your other artwork. And today I'm working with some slow stitch that I did. And I'll also show you another version of this to use on a journal cover. And what this entails is I had purchased actually I got more than one, some dresser scarves at a antique store. And they're very beautiful. You can pick them up for a fairly good price. This one was washed already and smelled really fresh, so I didn't have to wash it. Some of them you would have to wash to kind of get rid of a musty odor, or sometimes they might have some stains on them or something. And whoops, sorry, just dropped something behind my desk. But this is half of the dresser scarf. I have used the other half, and I'll show you how I used it. This is more than half because I did cut it apart in the middle to get the cover for this journal. And I made a journal cover, and I made it in the shape of a butterfly. As you can tell here, these pieces that were stitched down to the cover of the journal. And here's the middle part of the dresser scarf that I used for the cover of the journal. But I cut these pieces out, pieces of the butterfly. I cut these out from the dresser scarf. And where I got this idea was from Rachel at Roxy Creations. She does a lot of slow stitch, and she has an abundance of vintage materials that she uses. And I saw her make the butterfly from I don't know what she used, an old embroidery that she had, and she actually made the wings of the butterfly 3-dimensional. So she made them and she put wires on the edges, so you can check out her videos if you want to see how to do that. But I just use mine in a more flat manner. So I'll show you how I did that. Here's some pieces of the dresser scarf. What I did first was I created a pattern for the butterfly. You'll notice it has 2 top wings that are the same, and the bottom wings are the same. And the top wings have a little bit more of a flare to them. They're not very hard. It's not very hard to draw at all. You can just maybe take a screenshot of mine and then use that as a pattern if you want it to be around approximately this size. So that's what I did, and I just drew the bottom and the top, and then I turned them over, depending, so that they'll be exactly the same size. So I've got the top right here. I'm going to cut that out, and I placed that over a piece of embroidery, and I'll show you after I get it cut out. I placed that over a piece of embroidery. You don't have to be too exact while you're doing this. Now, if you were going to sew 2 pieces together, like Rachel did, you'll need to leave a little edge on here, like a 1/4 inch seam. But I'm not going to do that, so I'm just doing that. And I'm using it in a slow stitch, so I'm not going to worry about the edges fraying, because I'm going to be using an overcast stitch to stitch them down to another fabric. Or possibly in another case I'll be using glue, so that will also hold them down and keep them from unraveling. Okay, so here's what I used for the top right. So there's my pattern piece for that. To get the one for the top left, what I would do, actually I'm going to save this piece because that's a wonderful piece to use. It's an old linen. It's just beautiful. It's part of the dresser scarf. And I will save that to use for future slow stitching. Now, if you'll notice on this one, I did the wings. I tried to use the little gold French knot area, and then on the bottom wings, I tried to use the bigger flower area. So but you can pick any part of yours that you might happen to find. If you can bear to part with one of your aunt's or mother's embroidery, you can do it on that. I found this in an antique shop, so I don't know who did it. It was obviously a wonderful seamstress, and a way to reuse and I feel like to kind of honor that person's work. So, okay, so I did the right side. I'm going to turn this over the opposite side to do this one, and I'm going to try to get this this piece in here that has the yellow French knots on it. And I need to get some more pins out. Okay. Okay, and it doesn't matter that I'm cutting the embroidered pieces a little bit. I'm just going right over the threads. Now you'll notice this has trim along this side. I'm going to try not to cut that off so that I can use that. Okay, get that cut out. Okay, this is the top of that piece. This is the top left. So you can try it out. So you can see where placement, you do need to consider the placement of what you're going to have when you get finished cutting them out, what they're going to look like. I'm going to use this one here. At the bottom, I'm going to use part of the flower. And I don't recommend that you cut these out two at a time because it's just too finicky, and you'll want to get it exactly right. Okay, and you'll see where I am actually cutting into the embroidery. That's okay. You could also do this same thing with like a real pretty lace or something. You don't have to do it with an embroidery. Maybe you have a beautiful lace that you want to use for the butterfly wings. Okay, so this was the bottom left. I'm going to put that there. Now to cut this one out, I'm going to flip it over. And I've written bottom right on the other side. Okay. And I'm going to try to incorporate this part, this wing. By this part, I mean the part that has the flower. And I'm going to cut that. Now these little bits series that I'm doing, I just started them about 3 weeks ago or so, and I'm going to try to do maybe one every week or every couple of weeks. And they're just to show you little ideas that I've either developed myself or come across on other people's channel. I always try to give credit, at least by name, where credit is due. So now I still have some area to use. So I'm gonna fold that up and put that in my scrap pile, and I will use that, I am sure. Okay, so this is the bottom right. Okay. Now to show you how I did this cover, I'm going to put my pattern aside for now. To show you how I did this slow stitch cover, I took a piece of another piece of the dresser scarf. You could use anything you want, any kind of fabric that you want, and I placed it on the cover to get it even how I wanted it. This is going to be a kind of a different size cover. If you wanted it narrower, you can make it narrower, but not too much really on this one, because it needs to be fairly wide to fit the pattern that I have. Okay, and then what I will do is I will pin this down, and after I pin it down, then I'll slow stitch it around using the overcast stitch, just the applique stitch. You could use a blanket stitch as well, or you could just use a single slow stitch and go around. It would be a bit more raggedy on the edges if you did that. Okay, and then what I used for the middle part of the butterfly, get that out. I used some decorative ribbon that I picked up at Hobby Lobby, I believe. And I just cut a piece. I liked the way the antennas were formed by these little pearl and these endings here. And I placed that on there, and I cut out the size that I needed, and then I tacked it down with a neutral thread that matched the fabric that was in here. You could, if you wanted to, do a color that showed up so you could see the stitches better. But I kind of liked that because it blended in. Now, do I want to do more slow stitching on this cover? I could if I wanted to. I'm not sure yet. I'll save it and I'll see what I'm going to use it for. Perhaps do more slow stitching on the front or the back. And then I'll use this as a cover. Of course, I'll need to back it with either some more fabric or some paper to make it a little bit heavier. But I liked the fact that I was able to use the edge of the dresser scarf, this pretty trim that was on here. I'm not sure how this was attached. Oh, it was sewn on there. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Anyway, it was sewn. Can't even see the stitches. And I do need to tell you, this whole dresser scarf that I just showed you, I got for $4. So, and I'll get quite a few of these out of it. And I may even use, I could even use this part in its entirety for a journal or a partial journal. However I wanted to. Maybe a handbag. Make a beautiful handbag to add some more slow stitching to it. So actually these embroideries are an excellent way to add to your slow stitch. You have whoever did this, whatever creative woman did this in the past, you have their embroidery and then you add your own embroidery to it. Okay, if you're not an embroiderer, I have another idea for you. You can use this to make a journal cover. Okay, so I picked out colors that I thought would go with the butterfly. And we'll see what this looks like on here. It's very pretty. And then all I have to do is glue this down. I could, if I wanted to, if I stitched, I could stitch some around here, but I don't really think it needs it. Okay, I could put some lace behind it, kind of just a lot of different ideas for that one. The cover is just a piece of 12 by 12 paper that I scored in half, and then I scored, I believe this is 3 inches at the bottom, and I show you this on other videos, how to make this size journal from a 12 by 12 piece of scrapbook paper, 3 inches. So it's 3 inches from the bottom or 9 inches from the top. That was 12 inches. And I fold it up. And what I did was to make it a little bit easier to glue down is I folded this out, and then I cut a tiny little piece out of here with my scissors, about a 1/16 or 1/8 of an inch, so that when I glue this down, it has like a little channel, so that when you turn it over, it doesn't get caught up in there and add extra bulk. Okay, so let's see what we got here. See, this is the top. Bottom. Okay, position it how you want it. And I will use fabric tack, glue it down. And what I'll probably do is grab one at a time. Glue around on there. Try to get close to the edge if I can, because another added thing that will do is it will keep the fabric from fraying on the edges. Glued around the edge, and I'm just going to put a few little dots on the inside part. Okay, so I still have this attached. I want it okay, and pat that down. Now with the fabric tack, it still gives me a few moments to kind of maneuver it and move it around. Okay, then I would just continue on and do this, glue this down all the way around, and I have a very beautiful cover, front cover. I could use this lace for the middle of the butterfly. Another thing I can do, and because I have some parts of this left, is I could use this, and I think I might try that. That looks really pretty. I'm just going to cut this off. And I'll measure it, see how much I need. One more up here. There we go. There. I like that. You could do any kind of thing on here too on this butterfly. If you wanted the head of the butterfly to be a little bit bigger, you could put on some a button on there, or you could use all buttons going down, kind of however you wanted to do it. And after you get it glued down, looks like this. Like I said, you put lace underneath. You could add lace at the bottom or at the side, however you want to do it. So that's a couple ideas on how you can use these little butterflies. You can sew them down or you can glue them down. So, here we go. Different ways. I hope that you have a very nice day. Thanks for joining me today. Peace of mind to everyone. Thank you.